Good afternoon, parents. This is Mr. Cote. I'm the academic coach here at Mineville Academy of the Arts. Of course, you know all of our administration staff and also our family engagement coordinators. They are listed on the screen. Mrs. Christy Graham is our principal. Mr. Timothy Dees is our assistant principal. And of course, our family engagement coordinators, Mrs. Heather Benton and Mrs. Jessica Sawyer. These are the milestone prep videos. These are the ones that we were telling you about today. Will be specifically about third grade ELA. So I think it's very important for you as the parents to understand our mission and our vision here in Bibb County. I'm not going to go through all of our content, but I will specifically talk to these mission and vision. The Bibb County School District maximizes student achievement and social emotional well-being by building a sense of community in a safe, equitable learning environment. Our vision: students are empowered to learn, lead, innovate, and serve as productive and caring citizens within their chosen paths of success. And folks, success begins with one, supporting student success. Okay. That is what we are going to be focusing on, the national standards for family and school partnerships. And we want to partner with you to help your student be as successful as we possibly can this year. And sharing power, the power of learning. Parents, I will tell you from my own personal experience as a classroom teacher, my students were more successful when my parents dug in and helped them study. I'm with them as a teacher 8 hours a day. Our teachers are with them all day. But if the study is not continued at home, they are not as successful. So, this is what we're going to talk about. Our ELA specifically. Since today is ELA, we're going to highlight. We're going to look at April the 22nd, ELA 1. That's going to be our writing portion, most of our writing portion. Our writing portion is actually extended over 2 days through the 3 day period. We're going to see this. So, day 2 for ELA would be Wednesday, April 23rd, and day 3 would be Thursday, April the 24th of ELA 3. Friday is set up and scheduled as a makeup day if your student wants to miss these other 2 days. Parents, I'm going to ask you, let's minimize trips during this time. The students, it's very important that they stay on kind of a schedule and a routine during testing. That's very important. So let's get into the milestones a little bit. We're going to look at ELA, third grade ELA. I've got it pulled up here. Parent Resource Center. And if you have trouble, this is where it's going to take you to. You're going to look for the Georgia Milestones Assessment Center. And you're going to scroll down to highlighted resources, and learn more. There's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of parent guides to resources, but sometimes it's best to go straight to the resource itself, straight to who developed the test. And we've got it right here with the Georgia Milestones Assessment Center and the Resource Center for the parents. I'm going to skip down. You're going to go down to page 4. And right here is where you select information for your students, depending on their grade level. So we're going to be looking at grade 3 ELA. When you go to grade 3, this is going to give you both the ELA, English Language Arts, and the mathematics. Let's take a look at the blueprint first today. The blueprint. What does it mean by blueprint? Well, this is how the test is structured. These are the number of components that they're going to have, the number of points on the test. It also tells you the standards that are going to be asked about. So we know, let's go right here to the first. Let's start right off at the top. We know the reporting category is reading and vocabulary, the domain, key ideas and details. And this is the standard. You could actually copy and paste this standard. So if we copy and paste it, you can look at the specific standard. If you put it into a Google search bar, it's going to pull up the reading RL. It'll pull up that first link, will pull up, and then you can see the standard that they're going to be working with. So the first standard, ask and answer questions to demonstrate understanding of text, referring explicitly to the text as a basis for answers. It's very important, folks. Very important. Why does this matter? It matters for multiple reasons. So, is the student, when we specifically talk about key ideas and details, can the student read a text, reference the text in answering a specific question regarding the text? So, in this case, these type of questions, and we're going to look at them here in just a few minutes, you're going to be looking at approximately 18 points. So it's about 30% of the reading is being able to read and specifically talk to what the text asks you. And we're going to look at some examples of some questions. Craft and structure, integration of knowledge and ideas. What does that mean, craft and structure? Well, what is the author trying to tell its reader? There's a way that they go about explaining their opinion. What are they trying to be? Are they trying to be so persuasive? What type of text is this? So those are the type of things that you have to look at when you look at craft and structure. That's about 8 points there. So it's only about 13% of the test. And then we've also got vocabulary and acquisition and use. So do they know their vocabulary? Are they on grade level for vocabulary? But also, do they know how to use the vocabulary terms in the right way? We'll take a look at some of those questions as well. And then we have a separate video coming out specifically about writing. Ms. Benton will sit in with me on that. So that's going to help us out a little bit later on in our video series. But more specifically, the writing counts for 47% total. So the first three sides, the first three domains count for 53% of the test, and the last two domains count for 47%. So the writing portion, once again, your main writing portion, your main writing essay happens on ELA day one. However, there's still questions and opportunities for the children to write on days 2 or 3. And basically, that is why it's about 27% of the test by itself. And then language. How are the students writing? How are they discussing? What is their ability to use their vocabulary terms when they are writing? Do they know their grammar? All of that is covered up under the language content. So that's about 20%. So test type in reporting categories. So reading literary text and reading informational text. There's a big difference between literary text and informational text. Well, are we looking at stories that are fictional? And then are we looking at nonfiction, informational text that describes something or tell us in detail about the rainforest or about how to put together a solar panel and what solar panels do? So that's the type of informational text they're referring to. We're going to look at depth of knowledge as well. What does it mean, depth of knowledge? Well, depth of knowledge, this is how heavy and how hard the questions are. It tells us right here on the blueprint, the depth of knowledge. They'll be in between 6 and 12 questions. About 10 to 20% of the test will be a level 1. These are your basic recall questions. Level 2, 27 to 33. That's about 45 to 55% of the test. Level 3, which is 9 to 15 points or so, and it's 15% to 25% of the test. And then level 4, which is about 10% to 20%. And then further on in the blueprint, and you will get a copy of all these documents emailed out to you. In fact, the whole resource center is going to be mailed to you through our Remind system. Now, let's get a little bit more into detail about more specific with our third grade ELA assessment. Let's take a look at the study and resource guide. So this is a prime example. It gets into some questions for us. This gives us an example. It also tells you what the depth of knowledge is. So this is a DOK level 1 because the item requires the student to identify the correct comparative form of an irregular adjective. So read the sentence. It will show the students, read the sentence. Ashley plays basketball well, but Tina is blank. Which word best completes the sentence? A, gooder, B, more good, C, better, or D, best. And then it also gives you an explanation of the answer. So the correct answer is better. This is correct comparative form of the irregular adjective. So yes, your third graders are dealing with this heavy type of language. And it's important that they're able to utilize this language throughout this assessment. So that is example number one. And remember, folks, this is one of the easier questions that it's going to ask them. Example items 2 and 3. What it does is it gives us a story, the island giants. Now, what's different about this and opposed to regular milestones is that passage will be on the left and the questions would be on the right. So let's look at an example of a level 2. This is where about 45 to 53% of the test is going to be these level of questions. So let's see what it tells us. Determine the main idea of a text. Recount the details and explain how they support the main idea. So which sentence best states the main idea of the passage? And with the limited amount of time I have on these videos, but I really want you to pay close attention to what it tells us when we look at the correct answer. The correct answer is B. People are helping the Galapagos tortoise in many ways so that the number of tortoises is going up. The author describes how people have taken away the goats and have brought more tortoises to the island to try to help increase the tortoise population. And then this is what's very important, parents, is when it tells you what the correct answer is, it tells you why the other answers are not correct. So when you're working with your students and going through this resource manual, it's very important that we try to separate those questions from the answers. Go through these with them. The students and the teachers have been going through passages nonstop. They read passages, they answer questions, they write about passages, and they've been shown how to look at a passage, how to use column notes, how to utilize a highlighter. When they're working inside the test, they will have a highlighter that walks them through it. The test has also been increased with a DOK level 3. DOK 3 items our students need to determine how the author uses cause and effect and support the determination with details from the text. So remember, there's not as many DOK 3s as there are DOK 2s. However, these are one of those active action items that I always talk about, is that they're going to have to, you see all of these, they're going to have to drag which one goes where. So if this is correct, they're going to have to determine which one is cause and which one is effect. And these all go upon, there's going to be one, there's going to be a few from this side, maybe a few from this side that may go over here in this column. And then there'll be a few that go over here from both of these columns. So it's important for you to take a look and try to understand what's happening. So the use of causes and effect, the details. So they're matching the cause and effect with supporting details. Keep in mind, it's somewhat subjective. It's all about how you read the passage. I apologize. The sinuses are getting to me. A lot of pollen in the air these days. And how they will score it, this information is based on points, a description. So it's not just a right or wrong situation on these type of DOK 3s. It's about perception and understanding. The better understanding, the better that the students can correctly fill in both columns, they get the higher number of points. So even if the student makes an attempt, they may not all get a 0 if it's wrong. It could be a 1. They could get a point here. And this is how we make up ground on some of these items for ELA. It's very important that you continue to go